Hi everyone. Now, when most people talk about the idea of do you really need to master grammar before writing, what they mean and is a way for them to say, am I good enough? Am I good with words? Can I express myself well enough? Sometimes I speak English and the English is terrible English. Sometimes I use language and the language is the absolute blunder. I don't really think I can tell a story. I don't really think I have something good enough to share with the world. I don't really think that there's anything that is necessary for me to say. I should just probably relax and move on with my life. This thing is not for me, but I want to do it, but I just feel that I'm not good enough. So the irony of this thing is this: you are not good enough. That's true. But the thing is, how do you get good enough? It is by doing the thing and getting feedback. Not just doing the thing, because I've seen a lot of people where they're in a particular field and they've been doing the thing for years and you're like, dude, this is mediocre at best. And then you see someone who, they put in some years of dedication and time, but then you see the speed at which they're so good at it and you start wondering how, because it's getting feedback. And you're like, okay, you want to do something, you want to get feedback so that you can iterate and learn and improve. If not, you just be doing things and you might figure it out, you might not, but who knows? It's just a gamble. Okay, so today's episode we'll be looking at do you really need to master grammar before you start writing? Okay, so the first thing I would say is that if you're not good at grammar, the best way to master grammar is by writing. Hear me out. Grammar isn't exactly something you study. Of course, there are books and there are things you read and all that, but it's something that you improve. And for most of us, it depends on how terrible your grammar is. But for most of us, we have a particular set of grammar that we absolutely what will I use now? Okay, grammar mistakes we absolutely make. Yeah, that's the thing. So they are like common. Like when you analyze, if you were to analyze your speech, your writing over time, you notice that this common pattern of grammar that you consistently abuse, mistake, and all those things. So the question now is, first of all, how do we even find your grammar? Like, how do we even know your grammar proficiency? It's by you writing and by you speaking. Then we're like, okay, this is where he is. Okay, this is how good he is. Okay, is there hope or should we just forget about it? Okay, that's one. The other thing is, once you've noticed that pattern, you can then say, okay, this is how I use my. Okay, once you've written something in the first place, you can send it out to someone who is like very good at grammar, and they can give feedback on your work, like detailed feedback, and say, okay, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, and then let's say you write something, and then they give you feedback, and they're like, oh, your Concord is really really terrible. Like when you are supposed to say when you're supposed to say they are dancing, you say they is dancing instead of they are dancing, right? That's absolutely. I'm just giving the extreme example. Of course, some of us are even better at that. Some of us like we're not like we're not pro, but we're like above good, but we're just not perfect. So we feel like we're not good enough, right? So like that's like Concord issue. So if someone gives you absolute feedback, it's not just going to tell you that, oh, this is terrible. Well, it's going to tell you that this is terrible, but this is the rule you are breaking. This is the rule you are violating. This is where it has, like how it ought to be, right? This is how you ought to write. This is the corrective action. Okay. And then what you do is like, okay, now that you've identified the problem, now that you've identified the area you're lagging, you can then go pick up a grammar textbook and look at Concord and say, okay, this is Concord. Okay, this is, oh, when I use this, I ought to use this like this. Wow. Okay. I have to say they are coming, not they is coming. I have to say they are here, not they is here. Okay. 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 And then you learn the rules of on Concord. You look at it, you practice in overtime and stuff like that. And then the next version you write based on the rules of Concord, you get feedback again, and then over time you get feedback, and over time you get feedback. But you cannot get feedback on your writing to improve your grammar and your skill if you don't write in the first place, right? If you write one time, how do you get feedback? How like that's not the goal. The feedback is to use it to improve your next piece of writing, and then you send the next piece of writing, you get feedback, and then you improve your next piece of writing. The thing is this, that there is someone who is in our life that is like really good at the English, that is willing to proofread your work for free. I don't know, or in exchange for something. Okay. So the first thing is that many successful authors aren't exactly grammar experts, right? So they're good at telling stories, but they're not exactly grammar experts. I think that's where the editor comes in. You write, the editor edit your work, proofreads it, and make sure everything is as it ought to be. So I think, yeah. So having known that, I think Margaret Atwood one time said that she wasn't exactly punctuation expert, but she was able to write, she has been able to write a lot of works and published a lot of works. So the question now, having published a lot of works and done that, and yet not been very good in punctuation and grammar and all those things, we see that it's not really a necessity. Of course, being good at grammar and proficient in the English language is very, very important. But in the age we are right now, there are a lot of writing apps that can, like, you can put in your work, they will check them and suggest the mistakes you're making and everything. And some of the apps are like Grammarly and ProWritingAid. You could go check them out, right? So writing and editing are separate skills, right? There are writers, there are editors, and for sometimes we have writers that are editors and editors that are writers, but they are two separate skills. And yeah, they're two separate skills, but over time one influences the other. But you can get someone to edit your work. So it's not really like I am not really good at writing. I can no. There are people whose job is to correct grammar and make sure the writing is grammar proof. Okay. Now the key thing I want to say is that let's not fall into the cycle of chasing our tails, right? When we're like, oh, I'm not good at grammar, so I'm not going to write. And because you're not good at grammar, you don't write. Because you don't write, you don't get to be good at grammar. Like you don't even get to be good at grammar. That's it. And so you never get right because you're like, oh, I'm not good at grammar, so I can't get right. You get good at grammar by practicing, by doing the stuff, right? Studying grammar is awesome, it's wonderful. But if if you're serious about improving your skills, it is by practicing. And what better way to practice by other than writing or speaking, depending. But in this case, it's writing. So when you write, when you practice, you get really good at grammar. That way you can get feedback on your work and you can improve. But the first thing I'll tell people is that if you can put words together, you can absolutely write. Now, of course, I'm not going to say that you're going to become a great writer, but it it's with improvement. And oftentimes, not being good at grammar shouldn't stop you from writing the story. And I think I do have a quote here that I'll share with you. And it's the quote from Stephen King. He said, "The object of fiction isn't grammatical. Okay, the object of fiction isn't grammatical correctness, but to make the reader welcome and then tell a story." Right? That's the goal of a writer. And then there's nothing an editor can fix in neckness, in punctuation. Like they can literally do that. And then there are writing apps that can also help you to do that. So most of them are free. That you can look and upgrade your writing to a certain level. And over time, once you start writing and if you start paying attention to the suggestions that the tool makes for you, what you notice is that you start noticing the pattern of mistakes that you make in your writing. And over time you can like easily like tell that, oh, I need to check this, what's this, oh, this is this, and yeah, this is that. And another thing I want to talk about in grammar is that oftentimes when we're writing, we allow grammar to get in the way of our writing itself, right? First, for example, you're writing a story, and like, oh, I'm not really sure that English is correct. What should I do? Should I look at it? Should I do this? I don't really think. I think you should just move on because you can always come back to the line, to the writing, and fix the grammar, fix the sentence structure and everything. It shouldn't stop you itself from writing. The funny thing is that as important as all these things are, in a way, when they do stop us from writing, they become an excuse. They become a form of procrastination. Okay, so what are some practical advice on some ways we can improve and work on our grammar and our skill, right? Is we want to focus on getting your ideas down first, right? The first draft. I think there's this quote, I cannot remember who said it, but I'm not the one who said it. He said, the first draft is you telling yourself the story, right? So you have to focus on getting your ideas down first and then use writing tools and apps, as I said, for basic grammar checks. Some things like Grammarly, ProWritingAid, and there are a lot of them in the market. You can't find a writing body or group for feedback, right? The funny thing is that we do have this affinity, we have this connection with our work that oftentimes we don't get to see the things that we would have seen if the work was from someone else. So sometimes we are subjective, we're not objective enough because it's our work, right? So that's why it's easy to give feedback to someone else's work. But when you're like, oh, give feedback, we're like, I don't really know, I don't really know. Because it's our work, and often, even though we know that we're writing absolute garbage, we still feel that, we know what we're doing, right? So that's why we need to join a writing group. And the funny thing is that once you get good at giving feedback or to other people, it improves your own level of giving feedback to yourself too, right? So join find a writing body or group for feedback. You want to learn grammar gradually as you write, and then take note of the suggestions, the feedback, and the edits that are made to your writing, and then just learn a couple of them and improve as you write. But don't let learning grammar or becoming good at grammar stop you from writing itself, right? You can always write. And if you want to learn grammar, awesome, great, but that should not be the reason why you're not writing. A lot of things, a lot of important things, quote unquote, can stop you from doing the main task, can stop you from doing the risky task, which is writing itself. Grammar, oh, I need to know how to grammar. I need to read books. I need to take courses. Once I get really good at that courses, then I will start writing. I'm like, seriously? Are you kidding me right now? Okay, so the listener challenge I have for you is your writing challenge for today is to write freely for 15 minutes. Right? And write without stopping to check grammar or spelling. Just it's a fun challenge. Just do it and let me know how it went. Okay, if you loved this episode and you got value from this episode, I'd love for you to give us a review on wherever platform you're listening and follow us. And if you'd love to follow along with my journey on writing, go to buildwriting.com/newsletter and subscribe, and I would send you updates. It's free. There's no, I know when I use the word subscribe, like, yeah, I have to pay. No, it's free. So you just put in your email, and every week I send you a newsletter on the mistakes and the things I've been trying out and things I've learned, the realizations and everything, every week. And yeah, basically that's it. So far, I've been your host, Oyemi Chinua Akonam, and you've been listening to the Build Writing Podcast. Until next time, keep writing.